We're singing to children. Ben Shapiro asks, why not identify as a 6-year-old? And I'm going to give you the answer right now. Because you're not a 6-year-old. It's that simple. Age and gender are different things. Age is not socially constructed like how gender is. You're not 6 years old.
Well, folks, as you know, there's a clip of me that once went viral all about me asking a young woman why she couldn't be 60. She was arguing, of course, that a man could be a woman. So I said, well, you're 21. Why can't you be 60? Well, now people are actually doing this. They're actually claiming that they are trans age. I do wonder sometimes whether the left hears itself.
Please show the evidence of, like, the broader left accepting this as an identity, or if this is just one random person. We can point out, like, one random person doing something crazy on either side. I could point out, like, Klansmen and be like, oh, look at this. Now the right's accepting Klansmen into their ranks? That's all that the right is. Hey, we can do this on both sides.
Over in Florida, a gay parade has now been canceled. Why? According to Local 10, officials in a Florida city have canceled the gay pride parade and restricted other pride events to people 21 years and older in anticipation of Governor Ron DeSantis signing a bill meant to keep children out of drag shows. The Pride Alliance of the Treasure Coast posted Wednesday on Facebook the decision to change this Saturday's Pride Fest events was made after multiple conversations with Port St. Lucie officials.
Wait, this is an entirely different story. So we went from, like, people identifying as a different age to now Florida was canceling Pride because there was a bill passed which would essentially make Pride illegal. Well, yeah, that would make sense why they would cancel Pride, because they don't want to get targeted with the bills, which would be like if there's, like, a drag queen. And by the way, the way that they phrase, like, drag queen in those bills is intentionally left vague, so that they could just try to get any kind of gender nonconformity, like, arrest them. So I don't see how that's related, but okay.
The DeSantis administration was cracking down on lewd displays before children. They basically said no assless chaps or displays of dildos.
By lewdless displays, what the bill actually says is gender nonconforming clothing or performances, which is so vague that he's going to say it means assless chaps and dildos, when the way that it'll be interpreted by Florida police officers and Ron DeSantis and his conservative-backed Florida judges is drag queens, trans people. That's why they're afraid. They're afraid that it's going to be used to attack trans people just for existing.
And the gay pride parade, instead of being like, okay, we'll fly our rainbow flags and we will celebrate gay marriage, they're like, nope, we're going to pull the parade.
Well, because if they just tried to fly their flag and celebrate gay marriage, they would still be targeted under this law, because trans people exist, because drag queens exist. That's why they had to pull everything.
Do you hear yourselves, guys? I mean, I'm fine with it. That's what you want to do. But it seems like you're kind of like, is that if the purpose of the gay pride parade is the assless chaps and the simulated sex act in front of kids, and so you have to cancel it to the extent that, like,
that was not the purpose. Okay, he's just being intentionally obtuse here. But no, it's about the vagueness of the bill.
Law that says you can't sexually indoctrinate kids affects the parade. What does that say about your parade?
Oh my gosh. Okay, so the law says you can't sexually indoctrinate kids. In Ron DeSantis's Florida, a gay person existing in public would be considered sexually indoctrinating kids. That's why they're afraid, because of people like Ben writing the laws, making it so that the existence of a gay or trans person is classified as sexual and outlawed, and then he's going to be intentionally obtuse and pretend it's just about assless chaps.
Really? I mean, meanwhile, other things that I like.
Really, indeed.
The trans movement obviously is going to have some radical ramifications for a lot of other things in American life. One of those things, obviously,
is that people are going to be allowed to be happy and be themselves, and being trans doesn't affect anybody else. That's really the ramifications. Like, if trans people win and we're just, like, allowed to exist, then we just exist and we're happy and people don't bully us, and that sounds great.
It's going to be the question of age. So you'll recall that a few years back, a very, very famous exchange, me and a college student, in which this college student took the position that men can be women, women can be men. And I asked this college student her age. She told me her age. She said she was 20 or something, 21. And I said, why aren't you 60? And this, of course, went viral because I was saying, like, you can't change your age and you can't change your sex. So what are you talking about here?
The difference is that age is not a matter of identity. Also, sex is not a matter of identity, but the person that he was arguing with, I'm guessing they weren't believing that sex was a matter of identity, but rather that gender identity is a matter of identity. It's kind of in the name. So yeah, obviously gender identity is a matter of identity. And the person he's arguing with would have defined man and woman in terms of gender identity. It's a perfectly consistent position as long as you believe that gender identity is real. But this is the thing that Ben Shapiro is always going to do, is he's always going to jump back into conflating sex and gender as soon as it's convenient for the argument. He's disingenuous when he does that, because in these kind of college student debates, people have made him recognize and acknowledge that there's a difference between sex and gender, but he just goes back on it as soon as it's convenient for him to make an intentionally obtuse argument again.
Let me ask you this. Okay, I won't ask you how old. I will ask you how old you are, okay? Because you're young enough that it's probably not insulting to ask you. So.
I'm 22, so I'm probably young and naive, right?
No. Why aren't you 60?
Because age is not a matter of identity. That's a pretty easy answer. Age can be an identity. I mean, I think that you certainly can have like being like an older person versus being like a younger person, but what I'm referring to is like the physical characteristic of like being this many years old. Like that's not a matter of identity.
Why can't you identify as 60? What is the problem with you identifying as 60?
It's not the same as gender. You can't just.
You're right. Age is significantly less important than gender.
Age is significantly less important than gender? I'm not sure if that's true. You can have two adults who are of the same gender, and them having a consensual relationship is totally legal. But if you lower the age of one of those participants significantly, the age sure matters a whole lot more than the gender. I don't know if you can just make a blanket statement like that, but okay.
Hit the end of parody because now we have 60-year-old men identifying as 6-year-old girls. This is a clip that was going viral on the Twitters of a 60-year-old man in Great Britain claiming that he is in fact a 6-year-old girl. Now what's hilarious about this, and the reason why I put it in things I like rather than things I hate, is I think it does quite well expose the trans agenda. If this were a man claiming that he is in day 365 of girlhood, he would be getting all sorts of ad deals from Maybelline.
That's not true. The reason why Dylan Mulvaney gets ad deals is because she's famous. Like she would get ad deals if she was cis or trans. I've been trans for almost 3 years. I'm not getting ad deals. It's because I'm not famous.
But since he claims that he's a 60-year-old man who's a 6-year-old girl, it's the age that really is upsetting people. It's the age that's troubling, not the fact that this is a dude claiming that he is a female.
Today is my first day of having my living room as my playroom. My Kodo is here with me, but I didn't have any friends over for the play date because it's COVID time. I'm having fun with Makoto, my cat, and with Franny. She's my baby. Anyways, I just wanted you to see I made a tutu for pretending to be a little fairy.
Wait, that person never said they were 6 years old. Wait, this is just a person that likes playing dress up. Is that really it? Wait, I thought he actually had someone who was gonna say like, I identify as a 6-year-old. He can't even find that? He can't even find the ridiculous anecdote that he claims? It's just a person that wants to play dress up? I mean, like, you can call it weird or whatever, but, like, it's kind of their freedom of expression. Get over it. I don't see how they're harming anyone.
Oh, no.
They literally never claimed to be a different age.
Why can't this 60-year-old man be a 6-year-old girl? Why not? You say he's a man who can be a girl. It means that you're getting calls from the President of the United States. So when is the Prime Minister of Britain, not Rishi Sunak, who actually has his head screwed on straight on this, yeah, maybe some of the former prime ministers. Well, why don't they call up this guy and congratulate him on becoming a 6-year-old girl?
Is this the straws that they have to grasp at? Like, in order to make trans people sound ridiculous, he has to go with something completely different, a concept of, like, trans age, and the only anecdote, not any kind of, like, broader trend or data, the only anecdote he has is somebody who never claimed to be 6 years old. That's the straw we're grasping at? I thought he was actually gonna have, like, a crazy anecdote, and I was gonna be like, oh, well, you know, anecdotal evidence is just, like, whatever. There can be, like, one crazy person that says anything. That doesn't mean that they're, like, a part of the LGBT community or whatever. But he didn't even have a crazy anecdote. It didn't even prove what he says it does.
This means that he is basically immoral because he can just keep identifying as a younger and younger person. He'll never die. So that's very exciting. None of this ideology makes sense because it is all pagan crap.
It doesn't make sense because you're just lying. You're just making shit up. I mean, I can make up shit that doesn't make sense either. I just don't think that's a very fun game for us to both play.
Okay, time for some things that I hate.
Also, the point of, like, you know, identifying as, like, a certain age isn't going to, like, mean you live forever. This is something that like, if we draw the analogy to trans people, that, like, identifying as a certain sex isn't going to change your medical needs. Yeah, trans people know that. That's why it would only be, like, transsexual people who would have their biological functions and medical needs changed by HRT. Like, we're aware that, like, sex is not a matter of identity. Sex is about biology. That's why we recognize the difference between sex and gender. Even if you draw the analogy to trans people, that point doesn't even hold water. Because trans people don't believe that, like, you can just identify a certain way and then get pregnant. Even the analogy doesn't work.
There is a human named Jules Hoffman. Jules Hoffman is a woman. But Jules Hoffman says that she is a they. According to Jules, the reason this is of relevance...
She, they? Well, let me she them titties.
...is because Jules Hoffman is one of the stars of a wildly popular YouTube channel for babies and toddlers called Songs for Little. The host of this is apparently a person named Miss Rachel. Now, I've never watched this, nor would I expose my children to a woman who says that she is a they. not 3-year-old children. Nope.
Okay, so wait, is it just somebody makes songs for kids and they're non-binary? Does Miss Rachel use she they pronouns or they them pronouns? Is it she they or they them? Hold up. Let's look it up. I don't even see pronouns in bio. Oh, Jules is a guest star that uses they them. Okay, gotcha.
But
so it's not she they, it's she and they. Got it.
This is what is it? So Miss Rachel used to be just a place where you would hear a cute song sung to your 3-year-old. Now it's a place where you can learn about why gender is non-binary.
1, 2, 3, 4.
Hello, everyone. We're gonna have so much fun. I'm so glad you came today. Are you ready to sing? Are you ready to play? Hooray! It's time for songs for littles. Songs for littles. It's time for songs for littles.
Okay, so this is a lady singing. Okay, right? I mean,
Wait! He did it again! He said that they were going to sing songs teaching them about gender being non-binary, and then all the song was about was, we're singing to children. None of the anecdotes prove anything that he's saying. First he's like, here's somebody that says they identify as a 6-year-old, and they never say that. And then he says, here's somebody that's gonna sing to teach your kids about gender being non-binary. And they didn't do that. He has nothing. He has nothing to go on.
unless that is a man with a very high voice, which is not. That is a lady singing. What
Looked
are the
like a
pronouns?
non-binary person
So
singing to me.
Hoffman uses they/them pronouns. That's, I'm sure, very exciting for your tiny child who doesn't understand what the hell is going on. And yes, distinctions matter.
When did they introduce themselves with like they them pronouns? That didn't even happen. Like, how would a kid be confused? Like, a kid would just see that person and think maybe they're gender nonconforming, whatever. Like, that's all the kid's gonna think if they watch that.
To small children and to everyone else. But now we have an entire piece in the Washington Post saying that you must expose your child to this or you're a bad parent. Quote, Hoffman is one of the stars of Songs for Littles. Using their niece and nephews, which they refer to as nibblings, as inspiration, Hoffman belts out tunes on pizza, dinosaurs, and the hokey pokey.
Oh my gosh, imagine singing about pizza and dinosaurs. Scandalous.
Has been viewed more than 290 million times. But the channel has come under fire recently after some parents took issue with Hoffman's identity, asserting falsely the show introduced the concept of they/them pronouns to their young audience.
Wait! The article freaking disproves Ben. He just read a quote from an article saying that the allegations that the show was teaching about they/them pronouns or gender non-binary people is false. He reads an article which disproves his own claim. How can people take Ben seriously?
A video on TikTok criticizing the show has been viewed more than 400,000 times. Hoffman said the backlash was a surprise and sent them on a roller coaster of emotion as they waded through hundreds of TikToks and commenters, some critical and others supportive. Apparently, the show's star, Rachel Griffin-Accurso, educator and songwriter, announced she was taking a break from social media to address her own mental health after the fallout. Hurtful videos and comments, no matter how much attention they get, will not bring you what you want. Only love can do that. Oh, how radically exciting.
So they weren't trying to even teach kids about their non-binary identity, and they got a ton of hate and harassment, and they were like, I'm taking a break. I believe we should show each other love, not hate. And Ben thinks this is a slam dunk? Like, this is the anecdote he brings up? They have nothing.
How about this? You should be screening pretty much everything your kid watches. The fact that there are people who wish to present themselves to your child in a guise that is deliberately confusing to your child.
What about, like, gender nonconformity? Like, are you supposed to not show your kids anything that has gender nonconformity? Like, would that be confusing to the child? Under his worldview, I think that does logically hold. Unless you show people the most binary, heterogender, like, gender stereotypes, you can't show them anything. Like, what do you want your kids to watch? Like, just the most boring stuff possible? Just watch, like, gender stereotypes enacted on screen? Is that what you want? That's boring, and quite frankly, like, that paints a really bad image of gender into the kids. Like, teaching them conform to this binary, this is the only way to, like, be valid. That's horrible.
That exists means that you just have to police it harder. And parents who refuse to police this material for their kids should not be surprised when their kids become very confused about these things, because they are inherently confusing, because they do not make sense, because they are not true.
What was said that was not true in any of those videos? It was literally just a non-binary person existing and singing a song to children about pizza and dinosaurs. That's all it takes these days?